All right, now it's time for a little fantasy football week 5. We got our guy D Nasty back. Dave, what a anticlimactic game for the Giants Seahawks. I mean, it was a little bit boring on the Giants side. I hope people didn't have too many fantasy players on that one.
Exactly. Yeah, that was a pretty boring game. No Barkley either in this game. Daniel Jones was the leading rusher for him, which is pretty sad as well. Just a bad game all the way around. Geno Smith a little banged up with a knee injury. So, yeah, it wasn't a very interesting game to watch tonight, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the Seattle's D did good, a couple pick sixes. I think that whoever had their D scored big time tonight. But man, yeah, the Giants are definitely not what they were. Lucky, really, last year is what I say. But now it's just they look like a complete mess. But anyways, something's different this week for week 5. What's going on? I think there might be a few buys, right?
Yep, there's a few buys coming up this week. And I wanted to start off too by saying Raheem Mostert didn't really have that good of a game this past week. Did you look at his stats by chance, Kia?
You know what? Was he down to third now? So what? I mean, jeez, everyone can have an off game day, but A Chain it was really good at least, or Ah Chen. There's just so many ways of pronouncing it. I think it's Ah Chen, but we'll find out for sure within the next couple weeks. Playing Buffalo is really hard, especially we just got done scoring 70 against Denver. But I have no worries about about him unless he gets hurt. That's the only really concern I have for Mostert. But let's go in the bye weeks. Who's on bye, Dave?
All right, we'll get the Cleveland Browns first on the bye. If you were starting with Deshaun Watson after his good week, but then he was actually out this week. We'll talk about that in that injury report here in a minute. Cleveland Browns are on bye this week, though. Jerome Ford might be the guy you're starting, maybe Amari Cooper. Those would be the two main guys for them. Deshaun Watson as well, but he was injured, though, so you might not have started him this past week, but those are the main guys for them. Chargers, quite a few people on the Chargers that you were starting. Eckler, again, another guy who's banged up and injured. He didn't play this past week, but he's on bye this week, so definitely get him under your lineup. Justin Herbert is on bye. Keenan Allen, who's been awesome this year, is actually on bye this week. Joshua Palmer, who we talked about last week, who had a decent game this week. He's going to be on bye as well. So those are the main guys you're going to get out there. The tight ends, no one's really starting ever, I don't think, for them. So Najaku for the Browns, that's another guy, too, that's on bye. But those guys are borderline starters right now. You might not be starting them, so that's why I really haven't really mentioned them. But Seahawks, who we just talked about tonight, we got Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Kenny Walker. That's a big one, actually. That's going to hurt a lot of fantasy people this week. I have Metcalf in a couple of my leagues, and he's going to be out. And I have Kenny Walker as well, who helped me win one of my leagues tonight, by the way. And then the Buccaneers, who's actually been the surprise of this year. Baker Mayfield's on bye. Mike Evans is on bye. Chris Godwin is on bye. And Rodney White is on bye as well. So those are some main guys that you're going to want to take out of your lineups for next week.
All right, makes sense. Yep. And the Buccaneers, there's a few. Evans was a little banged up. Herbert needs a week off after breaking his finger, so we'll see what's going on then. I'll just get right into key injuries. Khalil Shakir had a head injury, wide receiver, and so he'll be out a little bit. T. Higgins for the Bengals hurt his ribs. He's day to day or week to week. He thinks he can play, but I've heard that before. Running back Javonte Williams hurt his hip.
They're saying today that he broke his rib now, actually. So he probably is going to be out next week, though, for sure. And that offense has just been horrible lately, too. One of the surprises on the bad side of things is actually one of the disappointments of the year, I think. But, yeah, they did say a broken rib, though, for T. Higgins today.
All right, T. Higgins broken rib, but, that they sometimes come back and wear a brace. But I'd say give him 3-4 weeks off, is me at least. Justin Herbert broke his, like I said, non-throwing middle finger, but he should be okay after the bye. Javonte Williams hurt his hip and was ruled out. I was just mentioning Juwan Johnson ruled out with a calf injury, tight end. Kenny Pickett, quarterback, had a knee injury, but they think he could play this week for the Steelers. Quarterback Deshaun Watson was a surprise scratch last week. A lot of people thought he was going to play, so hopefully you switched him out. I did, unfortunately, to Kenny Pickett. So that didn't work out so well for me. But wide receiver Mike Evans had a hammy last week too. And that's the main ones, I think. Anything I missed?
Matthew Stafford with the hip injury. Then Devontae Adams left with a shoulder. But he did come back, though, so I don't think that's as concerning. The Kenny Pickett one I had, Mike Evans, and then a couple of key defensive cornerbacks, actually, could be season-ending. Javarius White torn ACL, so he's out for the year. That's really definitely going to hurt the Bills D. Dante Jackson, shoulder injury for the Panthers. Those are two main quarterbacks out there for IDP leagues as well.
All right, good stuff. Let's go to the waiver wire, Dave. Who are we picking up?
Oh, and actually one other one too. Jimmy Garoppolo with concussion didn't play this past week either. So we had two rookie quarterbacks playing, and Aiden O'Connell.
We mentioned him last week, though.
Okay, yep, that's right. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that he was out this week. So, but yep, pickups. Let's get into those. The guy I really likes, Sam Howell, Commanders. He's actually got a good matchup this week. He looked really good last week against the Eagles of all people. He had 29 of 41, 290 yards, and a touchdown. And he led that drive in the fourth quarter, which was a fun game to watch last week, to tie it up with no time remaining. It was a fun game to watch last week. Another guy, too, if he's still out there, CJ Stroud, he has a good matchup this week at Atlanta. So with those bye weeks coming up, definitely keep an eye out there for those guys. Stafford, he's pretty much borderline right now, but he's been playing really well, too, against Philadelphia. So good at matchup for him as well. Then we have Jalen McCollum for the Broncos. Javonte Williams suffered a hip injury, like we said. He could be out for this week and possibly next week, but they're not really sure yet that he could even possibly play this week. But McLaughlin looked really good this past week. 7 carries, 72 yards. And he caught all 3 of his targets for 32 receiving yards and a touchdown. So they're definitely the guy they like there. Perrine is still borderline up pickup too as well, but looks like McLaughlin was the guy they really leaned on, and he's the guy you want to pick up. Chuba Hubbard, another guy. Sanders is fighting a groin injury. We didn't discuss that, but because he still played, but definitely was affecting him this past week. You could tell if you were watching the game. I did watch that game against the Vikings. It was actually a pretty good game to watch. But Hubbard definitely got more carries this week. He is averaging 4.6 yards per carry for Hubbard, and compared to 2.9 yards per carry for Sanders. So Sanders' groin injury is definitely limiting him. And at 0-4 team, they might give Hubbard a little bit more carries going forward. Another guy, Romeo Doubs, he's borderline starter right now, though, but he had a great week last week. Even though in the loss, he's seen targets of 12 and 13 targets the past couple weeks. So he's definitely getting the target share. So you definitely want to take a look at him. Tyler Boyd for the Higgins injury that was like we discussed. Another guy that some people might have forgotten about, Jameson Williams for the Lions. He was reinstated. They did change the gambling rules, so he did get reinstated early, actually. So that's a guy you might want to pick up if you do need some bye week fill-ins, and he might be actually come on.
Is he coming back this week?
He's coming back this week, actually. So definitely a guy you want to take a look at picking up if possible. They're definitely going to use him when he's back. Michael Wilson, a rookie receiver for the Cardinals. Really like him a lot. 2 touchdowns this past week. He caught all 7 of his targets for 76 yards and the 2 touchdowns. So definitely a guy you want to take a look at. He has 5 receptions for 142 yards over the last couple of weeks heading to week 5. So definitely a guy you want to take a look at. And tight end, Dalton Kincaid, he's actually hasn't done much the past couple of weeks, but he has a nice matchup coming up. So definitely a guy you want to pick up if he's still out there on waivers as well. And Jake Ferguson, 7 catches for 70 yards this past week, and he was getting quite a few targets as well in that Dallas Cowboys offense. So another tight end definitely. And Cole Kmet actually had a great week too, 2 touchdowns. But the Bears still lost, of course, against the Broncos, even though Fields had a great day and Kmet had a good day. But Kmet definitely, if he's still out there on waivers, definitely pick him up. He's at Washington this week, and Ferguson's at Frisco, who's got a tough D, but for tight ends to still get something against that defense as well.
All right, good stuff. I agree with Wilson and a lot of those other. Curtis Samuel had a great game with 8 targets as well. Julio McLaughlin, I think you said, for the Broncos, kind of looked like Javonte Williams' handcuff. So Julio McLaughlin is one to pick up. Cole Kmet was going to be used more now that Chase Claypool is being ousted on the Bears. He had 2 TDs, so if he's on waivers, you can pick him up. Zach Wilson's got a matchup against the Broncos. I don't love him, but say you got Deshaun Watson and nobody else is out there, you could throw him or Mitch Trubisky if Kenny Pickett is out. But that's about it for me. But I'm going to move into non-starters trending up for week 5. Zach Wilson against the Broncos. Just like I just said, he could, believe it or not, have an okay week. Running back, Michael Carter against the Broncos and wide receiver Garrett Wilson against the Broncos. The Broncos defense is terrible. You saw the Bears score like 28 on them right away. Josh Dobbs also There's a lot of quarterbacks I like this week. Josh Dobbs against a bad Bengals pass D is a streamer this week. Jordan Love will get it right versus the Raiders, in my opinion, too. So I think Jordan Love's a good streamer this week. Running back AJ Dillon as well against the Raiders. I think that even if Jones comes back, Dillon's still going to get a lot of big carries. Wide receiver Jalen Waddle against the Giants should definitely eat. You saw the Giants defense today. It wasn't good.
Horrible.
Yep. Sam Howell also against the Bears is a very nice matchup. Quarterback Sam Howell. So there's a lot of quarterbacks out there that could win your fantasy. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins versus the Colts should be able to get some yards, and quarterback Matt Stafford versus the Eagles could make some hay as well, in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
I like the Texans, actually. Texans 2-2. Who would have thought that? They're actually an up-and-coming team. I like CJ Stroud. Nico Collins is definitely a starter, but I also like Robert Woods, too, against the Falcons. Falcons pass D is not good. Their defense is still not going to carry them, that team. Ryder doesn't look good either. So I think I like the Texans. The Texans are an up-and-coming team. They're going to only get better as the year goes on. I definitely like the matchup for them. Damian Pierce, who we forgot about, he had a decent game this past week. I like him, too, against the Falcons. Excuse me. I like Sam Howell as well. That's one of my guys I really like this week against the Bears. Bears are just atrocious. How could you give up 20-some points in the fourth quarter they gave up to let the Broncos come back and win? That was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Sam Howell quite a bit. I think Antonio Gibson even gets some against the Bears too. Brian Robinson's a starter right now, but I think Gibson I even really like against the Bears too. The run defense is poorish, so they're definitely going to get theirs against them. I do like Anthony Richardson. He's borderline starter right now too, but I like him, and I like Zach Moss this week too against the Titans. The Titans have a horrible pass defense. So definitely Richardson's definitely going to feast this week, and Michael Pittman. I like that matchup. The Dolphins, those are all guys who are starting already anyways, but I like Devon Achane. I think he's taken kind of over the role away from Mostert. So we'll see.
Achane.
Yep, sorry. But I like that matchup as well. I do like the Cardinals too as well, like Michael Wilson, and I like Dobbs too against the Bengals. I agree with you on that one. The Jets definitely like Wilson. He's a borderline starter already, though. Lazard actually could have a big day. He's been coming on a little bit lately. And I do like Zach Wilson. A lot of people underrate him and have written him off, but he actually had a very good game against the Patriots. Against the Chiefs. He had a very good game against the Chiefs this last Sunday night. So I think Wilson may be turning the corner, and he has a great matchup this week, too. So I do like him. And I do like my Packers, of course, Dobbs and Love as well, too.
Yeah, any of those Packers or any of those defenses, is what I'm trying to say, playing those bad teams is always a good start as well if you want to stream defenses. Bus. Why don't you move into Bus? All
right, great. One of my busts this week is going to be Trevor Lawrence. He's been struggling this year. Bills' defense looks legit, and they held the Dolphins to under 70 points, so that's a win-win for them. But the Bills' defense did look good against the Dolphins, though. And I don't like that matchup for Trevor Lawrence. He's been struggling already, and he's playing a tough Bills D at Buffalo as well. So Buffalo's playing at home where they're tough. So I don't like that matchup for them. Travis Etienne, he's been struggling well as well, and he's going against that tough Buffalo D too. So definitely downgrading both of them. I don't like that matchup. And then another matchup I don't like the Cowboys against the 49ers. I don't think the Cowboys offense is really that good. And I think the 49ers defense is that good. So I'm definitely going to download Dak Prescott this week and Tony Pollard too against that tough 49ers D. I don't like that match for them. The Rams actually, Eagles D has been playing better and better. I know you said you like Stafford against them, but I don't really like Stafford against them. I do.
They're just so injured, with their linebackers and everything. Now, Stafford seems to be getting rid of the ball fast. That's why I like him. So I think at home, you saw what Sam Howell just did against them. So that's my reasoning.
Yeah, I like that though. I can go either way on that one, but definitely, I think Stanford could struggle at the same time against the Eagles because they have to fix that defense if they want to do anything this year. Even though they're 4-0, but if they want to go to the Super Bowl, they're not going to be able to win with that defense. So you definitely need to tighten things up there. Steelers, I'm downloading. Whoever's playing at quarterback for them, even if it's Pickett or Trubisky. Ravens have been looking good this year. Their defense has been looking pretty tough as well. So I'm definitely downgrading him. And Najee Harris has been struggling already this year as well. I don't see him doing much against that tough Ravens D either as well.
Yeah, I have most of those. Brock Purdy, even against Dallas's D, worries me. Dak Prescott, like you said, Najee Harris, Kenny Pickett versus the Ravens D, CJ Stroud, even against Atlanta, is somewhat worrisome. He's been killing it yet, but has he earned your starting role yet? I'm not sure. I need to see one more week.
I think he has. I think he definitely has.
All right. Well,
he's not that good.
Okay, well, you know what? He's just on the light side of a bust. We'll see if it happens. I mean, they did get smoked by the Colts, but he actually had a pretty good game against them. Running back Miles Sanders, and he's kind of banged up, like you said, but versus the Lions D, the Lions actually has the best rush D, probably because a lot of teams have to throw against him, though. So I still don't like Miles Sanders against the Lions, and I don't like Kyron Williams versus Philly because Philly does have the defensive front, and hopefully they don't get to Stafford, but we'll see. I just think that Stafford's going to throw to Puka Nacua, and you know who might be back? Cooper Kupp. He might be back. He's on the 21-day comeback list, so that means any day he can come back. So that's who I have for bust.
Jonathan Taylor as well might be back this week too, so you got to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, JT might be back, so maybe pull him off your NA list in fantasy. I'm going to the nasty sleeper, buddy. I have to go against my Bears. Curtis Samuel. The Bears have no secondary. They're all freaking second string, third string, or don't even belong in the NFL, to be honest with you. They're just all hurt. Why not just keep eating and feeding your fantasy team with those guys playing the Bears? So Curtis Samuel, if he's on waivers, gobble him up and start him against the Bears.
I'm going with another Washington guy as well. I'm going on that same thoughts as you. I'm going with Sam Howell. I really like him. He's one of the young quarterbacks I really like. I like Sam Howell against the Bears. He's actually looked good against the Eagles this week too. So he played well under pressure. He brought him back in the fourth quarter, and in overtime he looked good too. So I'm going with Sam Howell as my DNS.
All right. No disagreement, Dave. Well, thanks so much for coming on, my man. We broke it down. It looks like a Sam Howell to Curtis Samuel fantasy fiesta next Sunday, my man. Awesome. Thanks for coming on. We'll be talking soon.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to tweet us at the Oddsbreakers. Enjoy the rest of the week and go get some winners.